Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Chulas Pero Mulas. Thank you so much for taking a few minutes out of your lives to listen to my chat. Today's chat is going to be an interesting one, actually, because I haven't recorded. I recorded in February, but I haven't recorded anything in March. So I was a little hesitant because there's just so much information to cover, and there's so much really valuable information out there. And honestly, like I just want to bring information that is going to help specifically our people. And if it can help other groups, that's great. But as everybody knows, as you guys know, I focus specifically on the Mexican American people and how it affects us. So some of the things that before I start, I do have my hubby again, Senor.
Hello.
Cruz is here in the studio again. He agreed to kind of go to have a chat with me to talk about some of the things that I chose as topics today. So I have 3 points today, which I'm going to try to cover. I will try to not get too into technicalities, but I think the point of it is to bring awareness and to maybe help some people or not some people, but everybody understand that what is happening in our country at this time isn't just affecting certain groups. It's going to affect us in the long run. It's going to affect us all as a whole. And so my I guess what I'm trying to do in the midst of all this is just try to bring an educated point to these topics, so then we can have open conversations. We can have discussions amongst ourselves, with our spouses, with our children, with our friends, and we can have these kind of like cool conversations without anybody getting offended or just getting pissed off. So, anyways, one of the things that I want to talk about today, well, the 3 points are going to be immigration, is going to be education, and then the last one, fear and how that affects all of us in the long run also, and what that does to us. So the first one is going to be immigration, because I thought, obviously, with everything that's going on, I thought it was kind of going to be kind of interesting. So there's a study that I came across that comes from itep.org, Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy. This is a study done by a nonprofit organization. So the study the news was released in July 2024, so it's fairly recent. So the numbers they're not going to be like way off or anything. So it was kind of interesting because within the study, I'm just going to kind of read over some of the information that I found. The thing that caught my attention mostly was that the study finds that undocumented immigrants contributed 96.7 billion in federal, state, and local taxes in 2022, a number that would rise dramatically if the taxpayers were granted work authorizations. So that is a really interesting point, because I think when we're looking at everything that's going on, we tend to focus on the things that affect us directly, what is affecting me, what is affecting my family, because that obviously that is going to be like our main focus. I mean, if we just focus on everybody, it would drive us a little bit crazy. But I think that these numbers are interesting, specifically because it affects our people, it affects our group of minority people here in the United States, and it's not only, I mean, this study doesn't, it's not breaking it down by ethnic groups, but but after researching and after doing some work, I think we can, like, the deduction is that most of what is happening is affecting the Latin American communities, which includes the Mexican people also. So I thought it was really interesting, because I have heard some people say just deport everybody, because they're not really doing anything. They're just kind of taking resources, but they're not giving back. And so after this information, and then I'll read, some of the rest of the study. I just thought it was kind of really interesting that we still have a significantly large amount of people that are still within that belief system that undocumented immigrants don't contribute, and that's like crazy. Like, like, where do you think this came from, Cruz? Like, where did this all stem from? Like, what is your opinion? What do you think about it?
I think that some people are drinking the Kool-Aid. They're just listening to whatever the news are telling them. They're not doing their own research. As far as contributing, I mean, that's a lot of money that they're contributing to, and the sad part about that is they contribute, and yeah, I'm sure they get something back, and whenever they need them, maybe some food stamps, some Medi-Cal, Medicaid, and some other states is what it's called. But at the end of the day, I think they contribute more than they take. At least I want to say, it's hard to separate because we don't have statistics as far as being able to separate it by Central America, South America, Mexicans. We don't have that data. I'm sure we can look it up eventually. But no, we contribute quite a bit, and the once again, the sad part is they're contributing to Social Security, they contribute to unemployment, they contribute to disability. But what happens when somebody gets when they reach retirement age? If you're undocumented and you're here and you're an immigrant, let's just say, for just for the segment's sake, it's Mexicans. Okay, you're here, you're 65, you're gonna retire. You don't get any help. You don't get to collect Social Security. Let's say you've been here at least 20, 25 years, whatever. You contributed all those years into unemployment, disability, Social Security, and guess what? You're retiring. You don't have access to it. You're not eligible because you're not either a permanent resident of this country or you're not a citizen.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you've been working here, you worked 20 years, and all of a sudden you become unemployed. Guess what? Even though you contributed to the fund, you're not eligible to receive unemployment. Why? Because you don't qualify.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you get sick, you go on disability. You're undocumented. Guess what?
Right.
You don't qualify. Mm-hmm. So again, you're contributing to all these programs, yet whenever you need it, you don't get anything back.
No, the study that the study that I just that I talked about actually talks about those numbers. So it's more than a third of the tax dollars paid by undocumented immigrants go towards payroll taxes dedicated to funding programs that these workers are barred from accessing. Undocumented immigrants paid $25.7 billion in Social Security taxes, $6.4 billion in Medicare taxes, and $1.8 billion in unemployment insurance taxes in 2022.
Yeah, so the way I'm
they don't fucking get shit.
they don't get shit back, and they're just they're actually helping to support a system that's I believe that without those taxes coming in, I don't know what's going to happen to the system. Where's the government going to get money from?
Mm-hmm.
They're already at a $30 trillion debt. So I'm just wondering where they think they're going to get that money from.
Yeah.
And then going back to that, let's say people that work in agriculture,
mm-hmm.
The pickers, the ones that are picking our fruits and vegetables out there. Same thing for them. The majority of them, when that the season ends, what do they get? They have to go out there and try to find something else, to get them by until the next season comes along. Because guess what? They're not eligible for any medical benefits. They're not eligible for any unemployment. So if you're unemployed, you need to work to have money coming in. You don't work, you don't eat.
Yep.
That's once again the sad part. God willing, you don't go on disability because you're not eligible. So you have to find other sources of income. So at the end of the day, you got to hustle. But
mm-hmm.
going back to the numbers, I mean, as far as contributing, And I'm going to say
they contribute.
Yeah, we do contribute, and I'm going to say the large portion of immigrants that are here are Mexican. Yes, there are Central Americans, there are South Americans, so I'm not putting anybody down, but I would say the majority are illegal immigrants that are here are Mexican.
They are. I mean, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but we know that because we're so close to the border, you know, we have a large influx of Mexicans coming. We've had them. I mean, this has been ongoing. It's not like something that just started. It's been happening, you know, since the beginning, since the border crossed, kind of thing. Another statistic that I found, or another more information about the data that I was researching is undocumented immigrants paid federal, state, and local taxes of $8,889 per person in 2022. In other words, for every 1 million undocumented immigrant who resides in the country, public services receive 8.9 billion in additional tax revenue.
Yep.
So everything points to undocumented immigrants contributing to us living the kind of life that we want to live.
Yeah. So anybody
it's making our lives easier, right?
It is. So anybody who's documented, you know, permanent residency, citizenship, and you're retired, well, guess who's funding some of that?
Mm-hmm.
It's not just the regular, you know, U.S. taxpayer, just U.S. citizens. I mean, a lot of it's being funded. A large portion is being funded by these undocumented immigrants.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and a lot of them. I want to say the government has statistics. They have the numbers because you know they provide the EITN numbers to these employees. So we'd have to probably go to the IRS website and get more information as far as what their contributions are on that level. But there are a lot of people. And I'm sure many of you guys know this that'll work out there. They're undocumented, but they'll just they'll work under a fake social, fake green card. But guess what? When they work, they're still getting taxed.
Mm-hmm.
So they're still paying into the system. Me being, Mr. in the U.S., I guess you say John Doe. I guess over there we say Juan Gonzalez.
Juan Garcia.
Juan Garcia. I don't know. I mean, here's John Doe, over there we'll say Juan Garcia.
Yeah.
But same thing. They're contributing even though they're not being recognized.
No, yeah, para acabarla de joder, they still get the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
Like it's still like they're still doing something wrong. They're still, it's like in, when it comes to the law, they're still doing something wrong. They're breaking the law, but they're not breaking the law when they're contributing. They don't break the law when they're getting garnished, when their taxes are being garnished.
It's a double standard. It's a double standard.
It's kind of
standard.
It's a really fucked up thing.
You're here illegally, but it's okay. We'll take your money. We'll take your taxes. But then when it's time for you to retire, we don't want to pay you, so go back to Mexico or the country you came from. And it's sad. It's sad. And I'm going to say that because a lot of people will come here illegally. And they'll build a whole new life here. They'll find somebody, they'll fall in love, they'll have kids, their kids will be born here. Now they have grandkids. So when they hit 65, they may be undocumented, ineligible to receive any retirement benefits, Social Security benefits. But, what are they going to go back to? They don't, they've been here so long. Mm-hmm. A lot of them don't have a life back in the country they came from. Let's say here, Mexico again. So you go back and you expect things to be maybe the same as they were 30 years ago. Mexico has changed. It's changed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say for the better. It's changed a lot, but if you haven't been there through those changes, it's going to be almost like going into, even though it's your home country, it's almost like going back to another country because
it is.
You have to readapt because you've been here for so long.
It's scary.
Yeah. So, I know a lot of people that are older that are saying, what am I going to do over there? All my family's here. My sons, my daughters, my grandkids. what the hell are they going to do in Mexico?
Right.
You know, if a lot of them are here, why would you want to go back to Mexico?
Of course.
You know, I mean, I'm sure, you know, if I had grandkids or, you know, I wouldn't want to go back.
Mm-hmm.
I would want to stay here and say, no, well, you know, all my family's here, all my grandkids are here. Why would I want to go back?
Right, yeah.
You know, I'm going to go back to a life of almost isolation because it's almost like starting over when you go back. You know, if you've been here over 20 years, it's starting over when you go back over there.
Yeah.
You may have a little home, little casita, you know, whatever. But at the end of the day, it's almost like starting all over.
Yeah. Well, especially, vamos a decir que you know, the family split up. Okay. So, like, for example, if for example, you and I decided to go back for whatever reason, we go back and we decide to start our lives all over again. I mean, it has to be an adjustment period, and perhaps the way I see it is like an adventure, but I know it's not for everybody. Everybody thinks differently, and when you're splitting up from your family, that's scary, and that brings a lot of stress, and that brings a lot of moments of not being happy. You're not going to be as happy, you know, going back to your country without your family, because that's usually what makes, you know, what brings us joy and happiness, right? Being close to the people that we love.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it brings like another like slew of problems and you know, all kinds of shit, you know, that happens to people just for wanting to come to this country to have a better life and to work. Yes, I know that there's criminals. There's criminals of all ethnicities, right? It's not just Mexican people that are criminals.
Well, look, let me interrupt you for a second. I was watching CNN yesterday, and the people that were vandalizing the Tesla's dealerships in Vegas and I believe other places in the U.S., they put 3 people up in front, and guess what? They were all
white.
They were white.
I know. I remember I saw that. I was like,
what the? They weren't Hispanic. They weren't Mexican. They were white. They were American. Now, that's not to say the discontent goes beyond that. You know, I think a lot of us are discontent with the current situation, but, you know, I mean, that's the action that they took. It's. I don't think it's the right way to deal with the issue. I don't believe in it, but they did it, but they were white.
Yeah.
So I mean, I have no problem with their discontent or disagreement, but they went about it wrong. And I think anybody, who cares what your race is, that it's wrong. Period. But it's just shocking that not shocking, but you know, they throw all this dirt about they're. I'm telling you, if they were brown or black,
yeah,
all of a sudden, these are bad people, bad hombres. They're bad hombres. That's why we want to get rid of them. It's like, come on, man, these guys are white.
Right.
How are you going to get rid of them? All you can do is punish them through the court system because you can't deport them. They're American citizens. Yeah, but they were brown or anything, you find a reason.
Right, exactly.
You know? So
I mean,
that's a disparity. That's a prejudice on my side, but you know.
For sure. Like, I totally agree with that. I feel like we've always known that there's been a disparity. Like, that's not, I don't think that's been a question. We just learn how to live with the disparities that we had. We know that we're Mexican people. We understand that part, and we know that it's going to take a lot more for us to reach the higher levels of success, just because of that fact. Entonces, I kind of look at it. I look at it like, now it's so obvious. It's so fucking obvious. If you're brown, you're worth less. If you're a person of color, you're worth less, and that fucking sucks.
Look, and I'm not going to go too far into the discussion, but if you're brown, regardless if you're a permanent resident or if you're a citizen, you're being stereotyped.
Or you're gonna be racially profiled. I agree with that.
Racially profiled. I mean, there's been citizens that have been arrested. There was a Marine that was arrested just because he was brown. They arrested him. And so he said, I'm a former Marine. I'm a citizen. Why are you arresting me? Yeah. This is after the fact. So it's almost like you're innocent to prove, you're guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah, so it's almost
backward. So
it's backwards.
If you're brown,
be prepared.
Be prepared.
Yeah, I agree.
Regardless of your status, because there's been incidents, there's been cases. So just be aware that just because you may be a U.S. citizen, just because you may be a U.S. resident, that has no bearing. Right now, they're just, you look brown, you're probably illegal. They're going to pull you over, and they'll find a reason. So it's almost like just be on your toes.
I know, but that, like, I just,
it's ugly. It's ugly.
I
to
know
look like that.
it is.
If you're brown,
it's sad, and like, we have conversations about it all the time, and I tell you, it doesn't feel real. It doesn't, like, entonces de like, de qué valió, like, all the things that our parents went through. Like, de qué valió their struggle, de qué valió their, them being oppressed, them being exploited, de qué valió if we're having to do this, if we're gonna have to do the same shit.
Yeah.
And maybe not us having to do the same shit. It might be our children that may be exposed to doing the same. I don't fucking want, that's horrible. It's like a fucking horrible way to live.
Of course.
And it does feel very like we're just kind of going backwards. It feels very dystopian. It feels like we're living in the fucking dystopian society that doesn't make sense. I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. But, I think this is a time where, with giving all this information, and if I can find this information, everybody has access to that information. So yo siento como que, if anything, let's be proactive. Like, let's find out what we need to find out about what's going on. Let's be educated. Yeah. Let's be educated. And I always bring that up because I think that is such a powerful tool. It's such a powerful tool to know exactly what is happening, so that when the shit hits the fan, you're not caught, like, como dicen los güeros, with your ¿cómo se dice?
Like a deer in headlights.
Exactly.
Headlights.
You're not caught like that, entonces you know what's going on, and you have the ability to speak for yourself and not go into panic mode, which doesn't help anybody. So,
and I'm going to speak primarily for anybody that's undocumented. Have a plan B. Be ready if something happens. Know what to do in case of. Don't get caught. Like I said, like a deer in headlights. Because you have to be prepared. You have to have at least a little bit of a plan. Like, what happens if I get deported? What happens? And the worst part about this is there are families that are being split up. I mean, I know people that had their immigration process
revoked,
either revoked or halted. And it hurts families, and I seen it firsthand. And it seems like this government doesn't even care about that. They remove the human factor. It's just about numbers, and just because somebody wants to do what they want to do, and everybody just says yes sir, yes. So there's a bunch of yes men, following the president right now, and whatever he wants, everybody just says okay. Well, hey, let's
jump how high kind of thing.
Well, yeah, let's get rid of the Department of Education. Okay, let's do that. Okay, he wants me to do it. I'm just going to go ahead and do it, and find ways to do it. But there's never a discussion. There's never, what do you have a congressman for? It seems like they're just, I don't know. I mean, they're not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
Whether Republican or Democrats, how can they just stand watching this man do whatever he wants with the Department of Justice? With Congress, I mean, nobody's doing anything.
I know.
It's kind of sad because that's not what it was founded upon. That's not what the Constitution says. But I mean, that's a whole different discussion. But it's sad. Like I said, my worst fear, or not fear, but what I feel a lot of sympathy for is a lot of the families that are being split up. It's sad. And these are families that have spent most of their lives here in the U.S. Yeah. And all of a sudden, they're going to be thrown, okay, you go back to Mexico. No, Mexico's not a bad place. Don't get me wrong. Mexico, I think, is a beautiful place. But there's an adjustment period. And if you've been here for a long time, like I said, you have to go over there. And there are people that have been here, no fault of their own. They were brought here when they were 2-3 years old. They've been raised here most of their life. Now you get thrown into Mexico. You don't even know how to speak the language correctly.
Mm-hmm.
It's on a personal level, if you go there and you've been here all your life, it's a big adjustment.
Yeah.
Big adjustment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are no chicken nuggets over there. It's primarily pollo.
No hay chicken nugget. No, yo no me voy pues.
Hay mole and stuff, you know, tacos de canasta, all that stuff.
Sí, I know.
So it's different.
Yeah, I know. Well, talking about the Department of Education, I know cuando todo empezó esto, with voting season came around and people were having discussions about that. I remember this administration, this current administration talked about dismantling the Department of Education, and I remember thinking like, why would people vote for somebody that is running on like,
as far as education is concerned and aptitude,
yes,
we fall, we keep falling below and like, all the other industrialized countries. I mean, we're getting stupider.
We are getting it is and now the el presidente está diciendo que it's happening because the numbers have been dwindling, so he's running on that, on that, saying that they're already, entonces, okay, so they're already dwindling, which says that there's something going on, which means that we should probably be pouring more into that to get us, to get the levels higher, right? But dismantling, it's kind of like, isn't it counterproductive? Isn't it it's like going against, está haciendo lo contrario. And I'm like, this is going to create, if we're already having challenges, what's going to happen? I mean, what's going to happen when, let me just kind of go over what the Department of Education does. So among the most significant functions in administering federal student aid programs, providing billions in grants, work study funds, and loans to more than 13 million students. The agency also oversees programs addressing special education, English language acquisition, and education for disadvantaged students. So this is mostly going to affect people of a lower financial status and poor people.
So we'll go over in a little bit how that affects most of our people. But that affects the whole U.S.
Exactly. Yes.
So unfortunately, a lot of the people that voted for Trump is going to affect them.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I've seen a lot of employees, federal employees, as well as veterans, that voted for Trump. I mean, they all have the reasons, but guess what? Now they got axed. They have no job. Maybe they were working towards a pension plan. That's crap. So, be careful what you wish for, because you might just get it.
Mm-hmm.
So in this case, it's going to affect not just a lot of minorities, but you know how many poor people there are in the Midwest, Tennessee, Mississippi, Kentucky, that rely on FAFSA and a lot of the things that the Department of Education provides. So it's going to affect, like I said, we'll get down to how it affects our people, but it's affecting a lot of people that actually voted for Trump. Now it's affecting them directly. All these employees from the federal parks, a lot of them thought, oh, I finally got in. It's hard to get in. I finally got in. This is my dream job. And guess what? Now you don't have a job. And, so there's no such thing as job security anymore. So whoever says their job security, I think you have to create your own job security moving forward.
I believe that.
That's just my opinion.
I believe that. I mean, I think it's not, and y pues sí, les está afectando a mucha gente. Like we talked about it, it's affecting, some of the people that we know directly. And I think everybody at this point probably knows of somebody that is being affected, by all the layoffs and all the cuts and everything that's happening. I mean, and I think we're just kind of like in the beginning. Todavía no estamos viendo like the biggest impact, right? Because it's too early. I mean, lo estamos sintiendo. Like se siente with the motherfucking egg prices.
Egg prices, fucking. Oh my god.
No, I don't want to smuggle anything. I want to go smuggle some eggs because
people are smuggling eggs from Mexico. That's kind of that's sad. They're not smuggling drugs. They're smuggling fucking railroads and shit. Like, oh. You're gonna get pulled over. You're smuggling huevos. It's an offense. Like, what the fuck? I gotta eat, man. Like, hey, fuck.
I know, that's hilarious.
So yeah, I mean, it's affecting a lot of things. But I think FAFSA, especially us that live here in Southern California, there's a large population of Hispanics. I'm going to say Hispanics. I know primarily Mexicans, but I'm going to say Hispanics. It's affecting us directly because a lot of without FAFSA or without certain grants, a lot of these students they wouldn't be able to go to college. They wouldn't be able to afford a higher education.
Exactly.
Education, so we can, we're able.
So we can get into the government jobs.
Not necessarily the government job. Just get an education so we can get a decent paying job and compete with everyone. Because it's going to be harder, and with a lot of them taking away a lot of these programs, then it's going to be at the point where they're not going to be able to afford it.
Right.
We're not going to be able to afford it. A lot of our friends, a lot of our family members are not going to be able to afford it. So, if they want to go to college, well, hey, they literally have to work for it. Work extra hard for it. I mean, they had to work for it before, but now they have to work extra hard for it because guess what?
It's coming out of your pocket.
It's coming out of your pocket. And like I said, education isn't cheap. It's expensive. And it's gotten more expensive throughout the years. So, I don't know.
I mean, it's gonna be. I mean, I always say, you know how I say I look at things and I'm like, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. I mean, that's the only way I can look at it, because until we see the results, entonces vamos a saber. Ya nos podemos imaginar lo que va a pasar, but once we have the data and we see the groups that have become affected the most, then we're going to be able to say, okay, this is what we thought, because everything is pointing to that, in that direction. But right now I think it's just too early. It's just too early to know exactly what's going to happen. But yeah, I mean, it is interesting. I think I agree with you when you mentioned that we should come up with a plan B. We should have a plan. I think que estamos en un tiempo that where it's so much uncertainty, and I think that breeds fear.
Well, speaking of fear, there's a lot of people out there that if they don't have legal status here, some of them are even afraid to go to work. They're afraid to go to the store. Just because they're afraid of maybe getting pulled over, or maybe there's a raid going on where they're at, and guess what? They don't want to get caught up in it. So there's a lot of people living in fear right now, and that's something that I hadn't seen since, I would say, maybe the early '80s.
Mm-hmm.
When I saw a lot of people, like living like that. They just go to work and back.
Como los Tigres del Norte, como la Jaula de Oro.
Yeah, just like that song. Yeah. Because they just went to work and back because they were afraid of being out there because they didn't want to get deported and leave their family behind.
No, Dad, I don't want to go back to Mexico.
Yeah, so it's something. I'm looking at something similar.
Yeah, I know.
And I know some people that are like, no, you might have, you probably have some family members that are probably in the same page. Like we don't want to do that because for whatever reason, they don't want to get caught up. And it's sad, they're living. That's not living,
No.
They're living in fear.
Mm-hmm.
You got to live your life. Never live it in fear. You just live it.
Mm-hmm. So
that's what I'm seeing. I'm witnessing. I know some former employees that I work with, and they're going through that. It's not.
It's a horrible way to live, and I think
it's horrible to witness it.
Yeah, exactly. I think as conscious human beings, like it's hard not to like feel compassion or feel like a veces se siente como like what do I do? What can I do? Where can I help? What do I do? But that also puts a lot of pressure on ourselves, and it's not necessarily the healthiest thing for us. So we have to also take care of that part. We got to take care of us and our health, and try to maintain like the least amount of stress as possible as we can. I talk a lot about not a lot of people are like doom scrolling y se la pasan mucho tiempo, doing this doom scrolling, and a lot of, y también la gente, like the senior citizens, and I say that, and I speak about this because I've actually witnessed it, because I had a chance to work with a lot of my clients eran, gente ya, que tenían in their 70s and their 80s, that were, older, that they were senior citizens already. And most of the time, nomás se la pasaban mirando la televisión. A lot of news. And I'm like, no, like you have to cut that. Like you have to, you have to make a conscious decision that you can't consume all this information because it's doing something to you. It's creating a fear inside of you that it's going to become uncontrollable, and then it's going to start affecting your body. I believe in all that. I believe that fear causes stress, which manifests not only in our bodies but in our overall health, which is, it does some psychological shit on you. It fucks you up emotionally, and it does a bunch of things to you, con cosas que we can't control. We have no control over that, unfortunately. The amount of control that we have is limited.
Well,
So
yeah, so I mean, the way I live is, if it's beyond my direct control, I'm not going to stress over
Right.
it. I'm not going to worry about it because I have no direct control.
Mhm.
So if I can't control it, I'm not going to worry about it. But my take is a little bit different than yours. I do watch the news. I do read a lot. Especially about current events. Why? Because I like to be informed. I like to know what's going on. I don't get, there's, I'm not fearful or anything. I just, I feel bad for a lot of the people that we know, and, how it's affecting them, or just Mexicans in general, the minorities, the brown people here in Southern California. It's sad to see. But no, I just watch it because I like to be informed. Not it doesn't cause fear, not for me at least, but I believe you have to be informed. But don't give it too much thought. That's why the way I live is, hey, if I can control it directly, yeah, I'll see if I can fix it, or take action towards it. But if I have no direct control, then there's no use worrying about it because it's beyond me. So you can only control what you do, and you influence. Other than that, I mean, it's got to just be informed and know what's going on around you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean that we don't share the same. We've had a couple of conversations. We have quite a few conversations about that, and pero también, even with that, I think we all have we have responsibility. We all should kind of take that responsibility of knowing that what we're consuming is going to affect us. So entonces, what I do is I make a conscious decision of what I choose to consume. So the news that I'm that I choose to watch or read about don't necessarily come from like Fox or the local channels. I try to find sources that are going to not be biased, that are going to have more just neutrality, no más que nos pueden dar to tell it is what it is. No, there's no right, there's no left, there's nothing. It's just you're reporting the facts, and then we can make a decision. We can make an informed decision based on our knowledge and what we want to research. Literally everything we have access. We have a computer on our hands all the time. It's a computer. Eso sí le digo a toda la gente. You have a computer on your that you have on you all the time, because now it's become a part of us. Entonces choose what you're viewing. Even with social media, don't go doom scrolling and then go to sleep, and then you're probably going to have restless sleep. You're probably not gonna get up, is they feeling very optimistic. You're probably going to be tired a lot, because all that is actually doing something to our brain. And those are the things that we have control over. We can control that. We can control how much TV we're watching. We can control the information that we're getting it from. I mean, we choose it. Like Google, what what you can read, what you can watch, that's not, that is not biased. Entonces, en eso sí tenemos, I think we have the responsibility to inform ourselves, but try to get this information from credible sources, because I think right now all of us are like at war with each other, because I think everybody's kind of getting their news information from different outlets. And depending on who you are, that is impacting you and that's forming your opinions. So if you have knowledge of that, and if you're aware of that, you can manipulate that. We have the ability to do it. So anyway, so I think about that, and es lo mismo que yo le digo a mi mom, le digo a mi dad, le digo a toda la gente that I have a possibility, or that I have access to, everybody that I come across, like, just choose what you're consuming. Just choose it, but understand that if you are only choosing to watch, like the example that I gave you, cat videos, then you're probably not going to be learning a whole lot. You're probably just going to be distracting yourself and not absorbing any valuable information that may help you in the future. So choose, choose. If you're going to watch cat videos, not to say that you can't watch cat videos. If that's what you love and that's what makes you happy, okay, fine. But, like, limit your time. So I'm only going to do like half an hour. Yo a veces, yo lo hago, because sometimes I think that happens with a lot of us, especially with technology right now, where we get caught up. Y a veces no nos damos cuenta. Sometimes I'll just put a timer. I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna disappear right now. I don't want to think about anything, but I'm consciously doing that. And I will set it for 30 minutes. Okay, I just threw away 30 minutes of my life that I'm never gonna get back, but at least I made a conscious, decision about it. Entonces, I don't know. I kind of feel like at the end, that becomes important. Like, that's it become important for me, because that helps me understand that I can't control everything, but I can control me. I have the ability to control, how I feel, how I show up in the world based on the information that I'm consuming. And it was, the stuff that I listen to, and the podcasts that I listen to, they usually have to do about the things that I'm interested in. And so I don't focus too much on, what the end of the world or anything, because, pues, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. I mean, I have no control over that. Aunque me muera, me voy a morir antes de un heart attack, because that's probably what stress is going to do to me. It's going to make me sick somehow, because it's just too much. It's just too much, too much information. So, I don't know. I think we do have a responsibility to ourselves to stay positive, to control what we can control, which is us, and to see the world like this is just a moment in time. It's gonna pass, just like everything passes. We don't know what the outcome is gonna be, but like yo lo miro siempre muy in a very optimistic kind of way. Like, good things are gonna happen. Like, no, todo lo malo siempre pasa, and this is just that moment que está pasando, que pues, it's not as favorable for us or our people, but I think we proved through time that we are resilient, that all the stuff que nos ha pasado throughout history nos ha pasado to make us resilient, and that's who we become. It makes me sad porque lo puedo ver como like the older, like, for example, the older generations, like we were talking about, my dad and your dad, and we saw like how that part of their lives going through, racism and continuous like deportations and freaking assaults y todo lo que les hacían cuando los deportaban, y cómo les afectó en su vida ahorita, and the kind of human beings that they became. And witnessing that and seeing that, like, makes me really sad, because they became like very, very scared kind of people, como, I don't know, como de todo les daba miedo. Like, I remember growing up. Remember el ejemplo que te di el otro día, when I caught myself realizing that every time a cop went by, I would duck. Something in me told me to duck. I don't know why. I don't know why until I started looking at it. And then I remembered, that first little car that we had was like a Pinto back in like freaking, I don't know, 19, I don't even know what it was in the probably early 80s. And estaba tan chiquito y éramos las tres in the back. Well, I guess nomás era for 2 seats. So every time we went by a cop, I would hear like agáchense. So eso se me quedó programmed. And as I became a teenager, every time I saw a cop, like me agachaba until I realized, pues, ¿por qué me agacho?
Mm-hmm.
¿De dónde viene eso? And then I had to remember where it came from. And then the fear that my dad had, like him basically reflecting it on me. Like it was a reflection of his fear that made me fearful afterwards as an adult. And then ahora miro un cop y no tengo I have no reason to be afraid because I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm not doing anything. I know that I'm not, but yet my heart starts racing because something triggers it, and those things don't go away. Those things, you keep those things with you because, in my practice, I know that stays in your body and your body remembers. And I'm just like, that's a really fucked up way of living. That's a really fucked up way of living. And I think a lot of that is happening right now, with many people that we don't know of, but I believe this is happening because living in fear does something to us. It makes us not be our authentic selves. It makes us not be our true selves because we gotta be whoever, they want us to be safe. And that's a horrible way of living. I don't think anybody should be living like that because like you mentioned, that's not living, that's just existing.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Like I said, I know a lot of people that live like that. They live in fear just because they're afraid with everything that's going on and all the raids that in L.A. and Illinois. I don't know. I mean, a lot of people are afraid to even go to work. If they do go to work, they just go to work and straight back and no deviations, nothing. No stops on the way home. Hey, I'm gonna stop by the grocery store. Hey, I'm gonna go get a beer with the buddies at the bar. None of that because guess what? One of those you get pulled over or there's a raid or there's a checkpoint, and guess what? You're brown. You're already targeted whether you're documented or not. So hey, they're gonna put you got to be ready for that. So. Yeah. I think a lot of people are trying to avoid that situation. So yeah, literally, they like the song from the Tigres del Norte. Los Tigres del Norte. Yeah, they just go to work and back because they don't want to get caught up.
I know.
They don't want to get caught up, and then it's sad, but it's a reality that we're living in right now. Until there's some changes, we'll see. But I mean, on the bright side, Mexico's coming up economically. Mexico has climbed the top 10. So yeah, people want to live in Mexico despite its problems with the cartels and everything. It's no country's perfect. No country's ever perfect. But I mean, if it's one of the top 10 most desirable countries to live in, I mean, why not go there?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, that's kind of how I look. That's kind of how I feel like
we may not
too.
be the wealthiest, but I think we'll be happy. You don't have to live in
exactly. And I think at the end of the day, as human beings, one of the most important things should be that we live in peace. Because peace brings a lot of really good benefits to us. It increases our level of happiness. It increases our productivity level. It increases our intelligence. It does so fucking amazing things. It does the opposite. Fear does it's exactly the opposite. Entonces, estar viviendo en un country donde no te quieren and you're constantly living in fear versus a country that welcomes us, because la presidenta, Sheinbaum, she's been very open about vocalizing how like we're welcome. Like we are welcome. Like que nos diga un country, you are welcome, is fucking amazing. Like aquí no tienen que tener miedo, aquí no tienen que vivir con racismo, aquí no tienen que vivir con discriminación. Sí hay otros problemas, like you say it, like, because it's not perfect. But just to be able to live in our culture and just live what it is to be in our culture, that's fucking amazing. I can only imagine it. I can only imagine how free that must be. And even though I have lived in this country, all my life, de todas maneras, like that sounds like amazing to me. That sounds amazing because, the way I measure wealth isn't by financial status. I measure wealth in, like in a bunch of different ways. And it has to do with how I feel inside. And if I feel happy inside, I know that I'm wealthy. And I can create, and I can I can do a bunch of different things. I can be innovative, and I have the ability to do all these things that allows me to do all these things, all these amazing things, because I feel free. Because I feel free to vocalize what I want to say, like no tengo miedo. And we're coming to a point que, to watch your words has become important. Like I never thought that I would be living like that, because I always thought like we have freedom of speech and freedom of religion, freedom of expression. And many people leave their countries for that, just for that reason alone. And for it que se nos esté acabando eso aquí, it's, I don't even know how to describe it, honestly. I feel like como que me quieren tapar la boca, you know what I'm saying? And that removes like some of the happiness that I feel, so yeah, I think it at the end, I think it's a really, I think more than a time of fear. I think it's a time of change. It's just a change. We're just seeing major changes come about in the country that we've lived so many years in, and it's just a time for us to evaluate that and make the best decisions for ourselves. Like, what is the best decision for me? What is going to bring me the maximum amount of happiness that I can possibly have? And then we go from there. Because I think if we open ourselves to that, like se nos abre la mente y ya no tenemos miedo. Well, si me tengo que ir a México, una vez hubo people before me that came and they said, they set it up for me. Entonces maybe now it's my time to go to return and set it up for somebody else. Maybe. And that's how I look at it. And that makes me happy. And I'm just like, pues, I don't know. I mean, that's one of the ways that I can think of, to kind of not stay stuck in that rut or that place of overthinking, and then just kind of, becoming very consumed by it. So anyways, what else? I think we covered a lot of, we covered a lot of stuff today. We covered a lot of stuff, and I think that was kind of like my point. I didn't want to come on this episode and just kind of rant about things that are not important, because
No, I think it's important to cover current events,
exactly
what's going on, how it's affecting our people. Then I mean, yeah, there's always historical events. There's always, obviously, things that have happened to us in the past. Some of them are repeating themselves, I think. It's important to cover that, but stay with the current events and cover what's happening to us right now. Give our honest opinion and ask for feedback. Obviously, if anybody out there that has any feedback, please, ask questions. If you have information that we didn't cover, or they thought it was, that should be relevant, throw it out there.
I mean, yeah,
definitely we want that, because it helps to be informed. You got to be informed and be aware of everything that's going on around you at any given time. Not necessarily be afraid, but be aware.
Right.
Be aware. So yeah. That's about it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking a few moments to kind of have this discussion. And yes, guys, anybody that's interested in speaking about whatever they believe is relevant to what we're going through right now, to what our people are going through right now. Yeah, I mean, everybody has what is that? What am I trying to say? Everybody has a right to their own opinion, and we may not share the same opinion, but like, let's talk about it. Like, let's have a discussion about it. And I think those are the kind of discussions that are like the most exciting, because it helps us connect as people. And even though we might not share the same opinion, or, it doesn't mean that we can't like each other. I can, I don't fucking, if I like you as a person, I'm going to like you as a person. And that's going to be besides what you believe, and I'm more than willing to have like a discussion about it, and talk about, why you feel that way. And then I can talk about why I feel that way,
You and I disagree on a bunch of things.
We do.
I mean, it's probably normal because we're married. But I mean, that being said, I mean, it is what it is. Doesn't mean we don't like each other. It's just we have a difference of opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You have one approach, I have a different approach. Same thing with everybody else out there. Doesn't mean we're bringing it up to the forefront.
Yep. I know. I'm so excited. I'm so excited about bringing additional episodes that where I can provide information, where I can give information that is relevant to what's happening, and that information is available, it's accessible. Google it and you can find it, and then we can have these really cool discussions about it, and I don't know, like, start these really cool conversations. All right. So thank you so much for taking a few minutes out of your lives to listen to my chat. Thank you, Cruz. I love you, man.
I'm out.
And this is your host, Irene. And this is Chulas Pero Mulas. Till next time, be kind, and we will see you.